So we got to talking a while ago about getting back and doing some classic movie reviews, and we kind of said to ourselves the other day, heat wave on the approach. It's going to be 100 and ball sweat degrees out in both of the places we live. Why don't we review a movie from 1987 shot in California? What could go wrong? Right? I noticed you even got the background up over that. That's pretty slick. You didn't think I noticed a little roller coaster back there. That'd be murder capital of the world, Santa Clara. Not actually a real place or the murder capital of the world. You know where they stole that from? That was a thing back in the 70s. You know where they got that from?
No.
For Santa Cruz, California was actually known as the murder capital of the world because I guess they had a few heavy profile serial killers plaguing the area back then. Yeah.
Ed Kemper was around that area. I think
I'm not a true crime serial killer guy. I don't know.
The Night Stalker was around that area before he moved to LA.
Yep, I knew that one. Yeah, dude, some crazy dudes out that way, man. It's the heat. It gets into your brain. Does something to these kids. But we've wanted to jump back and do some old movies for like a long time. And it's rough saying 87 had an old movie, but it's an old movie. But you know what? I argue it still holds up. I'm gonna say I enjoyed my rewatch. I just rewatched it today a little while ago. And outside of a couple of nitpicks with the world building, they walked back some rules. But otherwise, it's the same movie I remembered. I don't remember the last time you saw Lost Boys, but I haven't seen it in ages. It's exactly as goofy and campy and fun as I remember it being.
Yeah, it was a while for me since I've seen it. I'm looking like it was probably back in the 90s the last time I watched it. It was more of my brother's movie than it was mine growing up. Like I remember the Corys in it and some of the fun in it. I didn't remember how some of the dialogue went. And
it's some of it's 80s cheese, but you know what? It's it does again. Things in the 80s, I feel like they were paced better. So even if something was cheese, it never overstayed its welcome. So this whole thing was over in like an hour and a half. Like it was there and then it was gone. You know, so if one of the Corys overhammed it, you know, whatever. I think that was the vibe. Look at that.
There's the poster if you guys haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, tell me if I'm wrong. But watching the movie, didn't she give off like Bix vibes? Like she looked like she was like Bix's mother in this. I was like,
hells yeah, dude.
Now I know she's not.
Yeah,
I thought she was more like Bix is actually Puerto Rican, so you know one's white, one's not.
Is Bix Puerto Rican? She's Adria Arjona. Was that her name? I didn't realize.
Yeah, I saw one of her interviews where she said that she was Puerto Rican.
Cool. Yeah, no, Jamie Gert's definitely not Puerto Rican. Now, do you even remember her? She was an 80s, 90s, like she was a character actor. She had her thing. Like she was around she was on Seinfeld, she was on Ally McBeal, she was on all kinds of stuff. Going back, she was in a bunch of stuff. She was in more stuff than probably anybody in the movie other than Kiefer Sutherland, including both Corys and including Jason Patrick, the lead. What happened to that guy? Like, shouldn't he have been more popular than he wound up being? Like, what happened to his career?
That was the point that I brought up when we were watching this, is that this was supposed to be his breakout role into like, starring roles, and it became Kiefer Sutherland's breakout role into starring roles. So
it's just wild. I mean, just look, he's a good-looking dude. He's got some charisma to him. But like I was reading up on him when we set up that we were going to do the movie, and I guess he had always wanted to take his career in the non-Brat Pack. You know, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, the rest of those dudes. He didn't want that. Like he wanted to do the drama stuff. And he wanted to avoid off the camera drama and just stick to like the craft. And it's like, I think his big claim to fame wound up being like Speed 2. Like yikes, like Cruise Control is your jam. Like that.
Well, also he was in Losers as well. He was
I don't even remember that. Don't even remember that. Not saying that makes it good or bad. Just saying I don't even remember that. But I remember from Lost Boys.
A great movie. I love the movie.
Put that on the retro rewind. You go take a peek at that. But yeah, Kiefer Sutherland, obviously a boss. The Corys, obviously 80s presence.
But the biggest name on there at the time, because I mean, this would actually launch the Corys' big movie run. Because this was before they were their Corys. Was Diana Wiest.
That was the mom, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's an A-tier actress right there.
And she brings total mom energy to the movie too. And that's kind of the other thing that I feel like we make these comparisons a lot. But do you notice how different like families interact in these movies now? Like they got rebellious teens right, as I remember, from being a teenager and like, kind of, oh, we're in this lame ass town and and you get some family drama because it's obviously they set it up so quick. You get the cold open with like the vampire attack on the security guard on the boardwalk, and you immediately know what the movie is. And the visual telling's clutch with all the the punk rock kids, and then you got the addicts on the street. The missing kids posters are everywhere. We get the boardwalk. That's kind of like the centerpiece locale of the movie until the end. You know what I mean? And they get that right out of the way. Dude, I clocked it. That whole thing took 3 minutes. And I'm like, sold. Right. And then you get the classic Karate Kid open where it's like, we're packing up the car. We're moving from Phoenix. We got to go move back in with grandpa because the divorce happened. And they get all of that out of the way in 3 minutes. But it's like the way families talk to each other in this movie, not cynical, not rude. There's a little bicker banter between the two brothers, which is exactly how that should be. But in the end, they had to choose to protect each other, and they did. We were missing that a lot.
I thought the dialogue and the writing was actually pretty basic at best.
Yeah, for sure.
It definitely was a lot basic. But the one thing you can also notice in the family dynamic is that you don't have hovering parents. You don't have there was no such thing as helicopter parents. Be back before the street lights come on. That was your warning. After that, I mean, this was going on like 87 was the height of the satanic panic that was going on.
It was.
There was supposed to be like a kidnapper living at every street.
And this movie tells you that's true. Like this movie has wanted missing posters every 10 seconds for like the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. A running joke was that you'd be ending up on the back of a milk carton.
Yep. And they did that. Remember when mom took the milk out of the fridge? The little kid vampire laddie, his was the picture on the carton. They did the me. They said the thing. That was some good stuff, man.
But yeah, it was a lot different back then. I mean, I remember growing up, and it was 87. I was just moving to Fort Bragg. Yeah, I was at Fort Bragg at the time as a kid, 3rd, 4th grade, around there.
So yeah, these are the characters. The main characters in this movie are obviously like they're young teens. They're probably junior high, 10th grade tops. Because
the oldest brother's probably a senior.
I was gonna say because he mentions I got more going on than girls at school specifically. I'm like, dude, you're like 27 in this movie. Forget it. All right, let's stop that nonsense. But yeah, no, the Coreys, and by that I mean the Sam and the Frog brothers.
Yeah.
Junior high, 10th grade, 9th grade, something like that, because they're left to their own devices. The two of them, the brothers, work in a comic store that their parents own. I always liked that was how they met. Sam, like he goes in and drops some knowledge on them, and they're trying to like feel him out to see, what he knows, what he doesn't know. He's like, nah, Superman goes here, this one goes here. You guys are out of your depth. And they're like, nah, read this shit, read this horror book. And he's like,
I don't do horror
that here. No, but I like I like the vibe of it too, because I don't think we see that kind of visual storytelling that much anymore. I'm gonna bang the opening again. Them just getting to California and going through all the establishing shots, like a montage of all the different sights and sounds in the 80s fashion. A little bit of nostalgia kicking in for sure. The long fake trench coat thing Sam wears, the white looking John Cusack long coat from Say Anything. I thought that's wildly funny. All his outfits were like something threw up on him. Like college just threw up on him, which I thought.
Well, that was 80s. That was 80s hip outfits at the time. That's what they wore.
And the Frog Brothers called him like Mr. Hipster Phoenix or whatever they called him at one point early on. But I like the aesthetic. It was all cool, like the vampire aesthetic, both in terms of like how they were dressed as like we're literally the Lost Boys. We're the bad guys. Like their vibe was cool. 80s, darker, some color but darker. The vampire prosthetics, dope. Loved them. We now do CGI for that bullshit, but like the ridges and the crenellations and everything in the brow, I like that stuff.
As we said, this was Kiefer Sutherland's breakout role, and there he is. It's which was like classic 80s rocker, punk rocker. You got the little emblem down here, probably a Soviet thing. The long earrings, of course, the blonde hair because they're in California.
The bleach blonde.
Yeah,
digging it. Did you notice at the beginning they did a little bit more with the evolution and the visual storytelling as Michael catches the attention of Star? he buys the leather jacket, and then he wants to get his ear pierced. So he's already becoming one of them before he actually meets up with and becomes one of them for the to move the plot forward. So I thought that was good. And again, it's quiet, it's clever. And maybe it's not even clever, dude. Maybe it's just not something people do in movies anymore. So it's when you see it, it stands out, or when you re-see it.
But I do believe that 70% of the script was the word Michael and the word David.
Oh, 100%. Just yelling at each other. And Sam! Like when mom's running away from the hellhound down the dude. So this woman runs away from the rabid demon dog and yells for her young teenage son to help. I'm like, whoa, lady, just jump the fence.
You could have thrown something at the dog.
Saying you throw in the wine bottle. I don't know. Just run. But once I'm over the fence and the dog's coming through, I'm like, no, just get in the car, kid. Let's bounce. Like, we got to go. And then I probably don't go to that dude's house. Like, that was the thing. I'm like, nah. I'm probably going to sit that one out.
Never fight anything in its own lair.
No, that's what I'm saying, especially a hellhound. And that was probably in the comic. If she just read the comic, she might have been better prepared for that. That was another good one, too. Sam's reading the comic with Hellhound on the cover as mom's getting out of the car to drop off the wine. I'm like, dude, these clever little bastards that do this kind of stuff. They set up some of that stuff. I thought it was fun, though. It's definitely a movie that I'm glad that we pop back in on to check out, because it's not a complicated plot. Like you said, a lot of the dialogue really is it's not even that it's on the nose. It's just exactly the thing they needed to say to move the thing forward. And I don't even really know if they had added anything else, like it would have become a little melodramatic. Like the parts between Star and Michael were already a little melodramatic for just having met this chick yesterday. Literally, like yesterday.
If you go by the timeline of like light and day, it was like a 3-day bender.
Pops, dude. Per video reference to the Dresden Files. It was the Dresden Files episode. It started Friday when they pulled into town, and it ended Monday morning with Grandpa, which was I guess that was a unscripted line ender that they used there at the end. It's the one thing I couldn't stand about Santa Clara. It's all the goddamn vampires. I guess that was ad-libbed, or that was like an outtake and they just left it. It was pretty good. I like that.
Grandpa was perfect.
Grandpa's
because the thing is that his character kind of was picking up on things, like he would slowly close it when he's watching people. And
I liked watching. He had he kills the head vampire where he crashes through the front, and one of the giant fence post stakes is what impales Max. And I'm like, no, I like that, because an hour ago I watched him put one of those in the ground as he was rebuilding his fence. So I'm like, it's not like it showed up randomly. It's like, no, this shit was outside next to his car. Like, he was loading up lumber already, man. So like everything had their little setup and payoff and a little follow through, and I like that. It's easy, it's basic, but it counts.
Yeah, I think the 57 Chevy needed a little more respect.
It did. I mean, driving around with the convertible top flapped up like a sail, I'm like, that ain't staying on.
No,
not as fast as Corey was driving. And this wasn't licensed to drive or anything. But, he was still pedal down in the sequences where they borrowed the car. And Grandpa was funny. Michael, do you know the rule about taking the car without asking? No, you put gas in it. Okay, then. It's like, he's just gone. Like, that's it. The house is covered in blood. We've got people going up the stairs that are unconscious and shit. Probably in vampire form. I don't know. I like Grandpa, though. I don't think there was a character I didn't like. The mom was good, like you said. The actress is known. She was a I don't know if she was an A-lister back then, but she's somebody you recognize as playing them kind of roles. I think the only thing I didn't jive with me looking back was that the Lost Boys besides David were all the same person. They were all just goofballs. Like they were way over the top, like hamburger villains. Michael
and Bill.
Much. They were just kind of all the same.
It was kind of sad that Bill was the first vampire to die too.
No, Marco was the first one to die. Marco.
Yeah, Marco, who is also Bill from Bill and Ted.
Oh, that was Bill from Bill and Ted.
Yes.
Oh, dude, I wasn't even thinking that. Didn't even dawn on me, dude.
Yeah, because no one knows who he is. But was it Alex Winter is his real name?
Yeah. Yep. I'm pretty sure.
See. Yeah, Alex Winter. Yep.
It was Bill.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it was Marco. What do you mean Bill? They didn't have any dumbass names like Bill, but they had David. Never mind.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody with the other Bill and David. That was good. I like that. No, you know what? It also doesn't age well. I'll tell you what doesn't age well. Wire Fu from the 80s. Like the aerial battle. It's just you swing at each other and grab and then spin, because that's what happens when two things swinging on wires hit. They centrifugal force or whatever.
Yeah.
Spins them out. I'm like, I don't like some CG there. But the process, like we were talking about, they would have overdone it It'd have been we saw that on Secret Invasion, right? The aerial battle between the fucking what's her face from Game of Thrones, and I don't remember who the lead
the Super
character
Skrull
was. Yeah, Super Skrull. And I'm like, oh, dude, this is too much. But like the wire fu, I'm like, eh. But I did have a technical question that I wanted to throw at you here. We get those scenes where the vampires are flying, right? And I like that because it's very 80s, and this is a Richard Donner film, so obviously it's very Superman, like how the camera probably works through that kind of thing. But the one scene where after Marco dies, and David and crew like wake up to like go back outside into the night because the sun burned them back into the lair. They couldn't leave to go get the good guys right away, right? Drop down from their perches, and then the way the camera is, it's you're getting like a reverse of them leaving the lair. That way you see the cave opening behind them and you're moving further away from it. How do you do that kind of shot without a drone?
They probably had tilt cameras, so the camera would when they went by it, it actually flipped over.
But then how did they get outside up and over the water? Did they cut it and I missed it into like a helicopter shot or something? Because they're like
it wouldn't be a helicopter.
Like up and over surf.
It would more than likely be a crane shot
From a boat or something. Because it looked like, well, where'd you put the crane? It's weird. Just on the like the angle. Like when they leave the cave, they're like out over the water, and they're away from the cliff. The cave and the cliff.
Yeah,
like
and you have a crane with extended arms and all that stuff. I'm not really familiar with a lot of 80s gear that they use. Like I said, I worked in the movies here recently. So
yeah, no, I know. Yeah, but I know you go down the rabbit hole on some stuff though, so I figured maybe you might have had a guess. I'm like, dude, how do you do that without sticking a camera on a drone and then firing it out a cave at 900 miles an hour?
Yeah, you would use tilt cameras, and you would they had all sorts of different types of tools to make that happen. Pull cameras, they had cranes to pull up and make it look like that was a lot of it. Like when the security guard when he was running, that was a crane shot that was following him and then coming down. Like you could put a crane on a dolly and push it on tracks and then lower it and raise it and then move it around.
Yeah, that was some good terrifying shots at the beginning to the guy just trying to break out in the parking lot to get away. That's what I meant. It established right away that there was something supernatural going on, just not beyond like the bird's eye view and the monster vision thing, but the fact that like it pulled him off the ground and pulled the car door off. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, these things aren't here to screw around. The same thing like when they came back and feasted on the guy that face palmed David on the merry-go-round, like they tore the top off his van. You know what I mean? And pulled and did that same kind of shot. It was completely top down. The victims are both looking up and they come down and pluck one at a time. That was pretty interesting camera work there. I must have forgot though that this is not only was this like a executive producer Richard Donner, this was a Schumacher film. Forgot all about that. I totally forgot about that. And he had to actually talk Jason Patric into taking the role because that dude was already on the path of not wanting to do the teen idol stuff. And I'm like, dude, if you didn't do this, what else would you have done?
Yeah, where would you gone next? But he might have had some things lined up. He just didn't have.
Maybe.
And he did this, and then he wasn't the big star everyone thought he would be.
That's wild. It's too bad because he definitely had leading man look for the day. I think just looking at him and imagining other. It's just imagine some of the other like the guys that ended up being it guys like Johnny Depp or Keanu Reeves from back then. Like they all look the same. I mean, they're all good looking dudes with dark hair. That's how that works. But no, fun movie though, man. I'm glad we went back and took a peek at that. I'm glad I can hand up and hand to God and say I've never seen either of the sequels because there are no sequels. Yeah. Nobody needs to know about those. They are terrible. Take my word for it. They're hot garbage. But I think we should do more 80s movie look backs. It was nice to see some camp and some cheese when it's intentional, and I would say it was well done. You think it doesn't hold up as well in the dialogue, but you probably have to admit at least the story for its simplicity was probably executed effectively in your opinion. I couldn't see you dump on that.
It was definitely different going back and watching and seeing how they did. I think other 80s movies hold up a little bit better than this one does.
Karate Kid.
I'd have to go back and watch that one.
Dude, how do you not have photographic recall of the original Karate Kid?
Well, I know it. I just have to go back and actually watch it.
Next week on Winter Wolf's Den, Retro Rewind, Karate Kid. Now, we maybe have to pencil that into like its own little mini list. But yeah, dude, that was Lost Boys, 1987. Jason Patric, Kiefer Sutherland. Guys, go check that out. That's what I would say.
Wait, didn't you say you had some nitpicks about the lore?
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So they establish vampire lore through through the Frog Brothers and Corey and Sam's knowledge of like how supernatural things work. My first nitpick is that they go the route of you have to be invited in, right? Which is classic vampire stuff, right? Classic, right? And when Max shows up to the house, he says, "Well, Michael, you're the man of the house. You have to invite me in," and he does. And then in the finale, when Sam asks Max, "Hey, whoa, you passed the reflection test," and we know the reflection lore is the same because when Michael was turning, that's how Sam figured him out. His reflection was faded in the mirror. But when they spring the lights out trick on Max when he came over for dinner and put the mirror in his face with the camera flash, he had a reflection. Max says, "My boy, you invited me in. Don't you know you have no power when you invite a vampire in?" My nitpick is Michael isn't the man of the house. Grandpa is. It's his house. Michael
It doesn't matter. He just has to be invited in. He just
he
said
specifically said man of the house, and I think that should count.
He said that because it's the oldest son.
That's not his house. Nitpick. That's why it's a nitpick, dude. I get it in the world building. That's how this violation in lore works in fantasy everywhere. It's always the stupid member of the family or the drunk uncle that invites them in, or the horny older brother that invites in the female vampire, and then everybody dies. I get that. That's why I said it's a nitpick. But my other legit nitpick, and I think this is just I don't know if continuity is the right descriptor for it, but you remember when Michael gets invited to the sunken hotel, which incidentally was reused. I was reading this earlier, was reused as part of the Lost Boys set in Hook. I'm like, dude, they must have repurposed that entire effing thing because shitty graffiti hotel, completely different than Never Neverland Lost Boys Island.
Yeah,
I don't even
repurpose stuff like that.
But dude, I don't even get how like where do they? I'd have to go back and watch Hook, and I probably will because that's another one we should watch. Structurally, I don't even see where that could be part of where the Lost Boys camp was because I'm like, it just doesn't like pillars and columns and walls and all that stuff. I don't see. But anyway, when Michael's there and David, works him through the illusions, and he's like, "Oh, those are maggots, those are worms. Here, drink this. You'll be one of us." Star literally tells him, it was in the subtitles, it's blood. And he drinks it, right? And then when she comes, right, he goes, "Yeah, right." Then he drinks it. When she comes to his house later, right, and she asks, "Can I come up?" He says no, and then he turns around and she's up and in. I'm like, okay, who invited her? Don't know. Are we all grandfathered in because we invited Max? Like number one,
she's not a full vampire.
Fair point. Nice catch. They weren't all the way yet. They were halves. Okay, I like that. But the gripe is when he does the whole, "Why are you here? It's not like you really care about me anyway." And that's stupid because I've only known you for a day. He's like, "That was blood, wasn't it?" I'm like, she fucking told you it was blood, dude. Like, you can't be all defiant about it. Like, you figured it out. Like, she was like, "Look at the bottle. If you turn it over, it says David's blood on it. And it's got a date for expiration and shit." I'm like, dude, come on now. Because he got all righteous in that moment. Like, he was lied to. Like, she seduced him and shit. Like, nah, dog, you followed her twice, to get in them panties. I don't know. I can't pin this on her. I can't.
So my big thing is, what hit band has a lead singer who plays saxophone?
Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer. Because that's who Tim, what's his name? Tim. It's Tim F. I can't. He's played with Peter Gabriel. He's been on tour with Tina Turner. But
but he's not a lead singer.
Yeah, no.
He's he's a saxophone player.
He's a musician for sure,
dude. And he was jacked for that role, dude.
Dude, I love that was a meme before it's a meme. Before memes were memes, you know what I mean? Like if you go anywhere on the internet and just type "sexy saxophone player," a Lost Boys GIF comes up because literally everybody knows who you're talking about, which is great. That dude was absolutely jacked out of his mind. But you're right. Like, yeah, he's got the lyrics rocking, he's got the saxophone going, he's got the crowd rocking 80s style. So that means no rhythm, no beat to it at all. Just people looking and a little bit of this and then a little bit of that. Get it together, white people. Get it together.
80s dancing really wasn't dancing. It was just controlled convulsions.
Yeah, dude, it's a full body dry heave set to music, as uttered by the immortal George Costanza in the episode of Seinfeld where Elaine dances. Yes. And I was thinking that. And also a connection there, Star in an episode of Seinfeld. You want to know which one? Do you know your Feld? You Feld fan a little bit?
I know a little bit of them. Didn't really.
There's an episode in which Elaine asks the woman in the stall beside her, "Can you spare a square? I'm out of toilet paper." And she was the woman that told her no and didn't share any toilet paper with her. Then Elaine tracks her down later, catches her in a bathroom, steals all the other toilet paper out, and as this woman's on her way in, it's like, "I got it all." And then she runs out. It's pretty funny. Yeah, I didn't make that connection until I just watched Lost Boys right now. Yeah, a lot of 80s connections though. But that's what these movies did for people back then, man. Just put you out there if you were good looking and you had some talent. I guess that's what happened.